Okay, so like imagine this.
Yeah.
You're on this like huge production floor, right? Sparks flying everywhere, conveyor belts just like
Yeah.
doing their thing.
Oh,
And then there, in the middle of it all,
yeah.
is this lone figure up in this grain cabin, just like orchestrating the whole thing.
It's amazing.
It's like the magic of a production plant crane operator,
Yeah.
which is like so much more than just pulling
Oh,
levers.
it's so much more. It really is about like precision and coordination, but on a whole other level. We're talking the kind of skill that keeps entire factories just humming along.
Right. Like I was just on RoleCatcher,
Yeah.
which is, that awesome career platform.
That's a good one.
And their guide on production plant crane operators, it like blew my mind.
Real.
I had no idea how vital this role is to like everything.
Everything.
From manufacturing to logistics.
It's true, though. I mean, it's funny, right? It's one of those jobs that kind of flies under the radar, but is absolutely like fundamental.
Totally. So let's like break down what they actually do.
Okay.
Because it's not just about moving big stuff around, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, think of them as like the conductors of a well-oiled machine. They're responsible for making sure that the flow of materials, like throughout that whole production process, just goes smoothly. Raw materials, components, finished products, it all like passes through their hand, or I guess their crane hooks.
I'm picturing those giant like robotic arms you see in those car factories.
Yeah.
Moving those heavy parts around with crazy precision.
Exactly. That's exactly it. We're talking moving anything and everything from like bales and containers to buckets of molten metal, all perfectly timed and coordinated with the rest of the operation.
Wow, talk about pressure.
Yeah.
One wrong move and it's like the whole production line just grinds to a halt.
Exactly. That's why this job, it's not for everyone. Let's just put it that way. It demands like a very unique combination of technical expertise, spatial awareness, and you got to have nerves of steel. Plus the work environment itself, it can get pretty intense.
RoleCatcher did not sugarcoat that part at all.
No, they didn't.
Like noisy, potentially dusty, maybe even a bit greasy.
Yeah.
Not your average cubicle farm.
Definitely not your typical desk job. Haha.
Why?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind trading in my office chair for a crane cabin every now and then.
Haha. Right. There's something kind of captivating about those massive machines.
Totally.
But like, in all seriousness,
Yeah.
this is a job that requires you to be physically and mentally tough.
100%. You need to be okay with working in some potentially hazardous conditions, often at like, significant heights.
And it's not a solo gig either.
No, it's not.
Like they're always interacting with other team members, supervisors, people down on the production floor.
Collaboration is key in this job. They're in constant communication with their team on the ground, coordinating lifts, relaying instructions, and like the most important thing, making sure that everyone is safe. It's like a highly synchronized dance, especially when you're moving these heavy loads in like a really tight space.
So it's not just about having the technical skills. It's about communication, teamwork, and being able to think clearly under pressure.
You got it. It's a very demanding job, no doubt, but it does come with some pretty amazing rewards.
Okay, so let's talk about those rewards.
Okay.
RoleCatcher highlights the earning potential as a major plus.
Oh, absolutely. It's a specialized skill set, and companies are willing to pay a premium for that, especially for crane operators who are experienced and reliable. In fact, I was just looking at this the other day. According to RoleCatcher's data, the job outlook for this field is projected to grow by 9% over the next decade.
Wow.
Which is significantly faster than the average for all occupations.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So not only is it a well-paying job, but it's a secure one, too.
Yeah.
It seems like as long as we have factories and production plants, we're going to need these skilled crane operators to keep them running.
It's very true. And, you can't forget about that feeling of satisfaction you get from this kind of work. You're a vital part of this team. You get to operate these impressive machines, and you actually get to see the results of your work every single day.
We're building something real.
Exactly. Piece by massive piece. But like anything else in life, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
There are definitely some downsides to think about, too.
Yeah, RoleCatcher definitely doesn't shy away from
No.
the physical demands
Yeah.
and the potential risks of this job.
Right.
And we talked about the noise, the dust. But it can be super physically demanding too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're often working with this like really heavy machinery, sometimes way up high. You got to have some strength and stamina to do this job.
And then there's the hours. Like production plants often run 24/7. Right. So we could be talking shift work, weekends, holidays.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider if you're thinking about this as a career. It's not your typical 9 to 5. And then, of course, you've got that element of risk. I mean, you are dealing with heavy machinery. Even if you're the most experienced operator in the world, there's always a chance of something going wrong.
Yeah. RoleCatcher really stresses the importance of safety training and certifications, which makes total sense.
Yeah,
But yeah, even with all the precautions in the world, accidents can still happen.
they can. That's why, having that safety first mindset is so important. You have to be aware of everything around you all the time. No cutting corners. One mistake could be really bad.
So you got to be okay with a certain level of risk, but also have like a deep respect for those safety rules. It's not for everybody.
It takes a certain kind of person to really thrive in this kind of role. Someone who's okay with responsibility, stays calm under pressure, and is always willing to learn new things.
hmm Speaking of learning, RoleCatcher really gets into the skills and knowledge that you need to succeed as a production plant crane operator. And it's not just about being strong,
I
right?
know, not at all. I mean, yeah, you got to be strong. But this job is all about precision. You have to really understand the machinery, be able to read technical manuals, and you need that spatial awareness to move those giant loads with total accuracy.
It's almost like being a pilot,
Totally.
but instead of an airplane, you're in control of this multi-ton crane.
Exactly. You're responsible for knowing the load capacity, like how the weight's distributed, and making sure you're operating within the crane's limits. If you miscalculate something, it could be a disaster.
So how do you even get started learning all of that?
Well, RoleCatcher talks a lot about apprenticeships and training programs. That's really where you learn the ropes. You get that hands-on experience from people who've been doing it for years.
Like a trade,
Yeah.
passed down from master to apprentice.
Yeah. I like that. You learn all the little things, how to operate all the different types of cranes, why safety is so important, and someone's always there to keep an eye on you while you're learning.
RoleCatcher also talks a lot about the importance of certifications.
Oh, yeah. Those are key. Certifications tell employers that you know what you're doing, that
Yeah.
you're committed to following those safety standards.
They specifically mentioned the crane operator certification, the OSHA certification, and the rigging certification.
Yeah, those are the gold standard. If you've got those on your resume, it's going to make a huge difference.
Definitely worth looking into.
Oh, yeah. It's an investment in your future, a career with good paid job security. And, the satisfaction of working in a field where you're really needed.
Totally. Okay, so let's say you've got the training, the certifications. How do you actually get your foot in the door?
Well, RoleCatcher's got a whole section about that. They talk about having a strong resume,
Yeah.
highlighting your skills and experience, and of course, those certifications. They even have tools to help you tailor your resume to the specific job you're applying for.
That's helpful. Because nobody wants to see a generic resume, right?
Exactly. You want the hiring manager to look at your resume and say, we need to talk to this person.
So the resume gets your foot in the door, but the interview is where you really seal the deal. What kind of advice does RoleCatcher give about interviews?
So they actually give you a list of common interview questions, which I think is really helpful. That way you kind of know what to expect, and you can think about how you want to answer those questions.
You don't freeze up in the moment.
Right. They even give you pointers on how to dress, what to do to make a good first impression, how to follow up after the interview. They've literally thought of everything.
Like having your own personal career coach. So we've been talking about the traditional way to become a production plant crane operator.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, with all the technology we have these days, like automation and robotics, how do you see this field changing in the future?
That's a great question. It's something that everyone in this industry is thinking about. Some people are worried that robots are just going to take over completely, which, I get it. But I think it's more complicated than that.
So it's not just a simple robots versus humans kind of thing.
No, not at all. Cranes are complex, and they often have to operate in environments that are constantly changing. You need to be able to adapt to solve problems, to think critically. And I don't think AI can do all of that yet.
So the human element is still super important?
100%. I actually think that automation is going to create new opportunities for skilled crane operators.
Really? How so?
Well, as cranes get more high-tech, like incorporating AI and remote operation, we're going to need more people who know how to manage those systems.
So it's not about being replaced by the robots, it's about learning how to work with them.
Exactly. It's going to be this kind of hybrid role where you need to know how to operate a crane the traditional way, but you also need to be comfortable with all the new technology.
So instead of just pulling levers, you'll be programming robots, monitoring automated systems,
Yeah.
and fixing any problems that come up.
Exactly. It's the natural evolution of the job. And the people who are ready for those changes, They're the ones who are going to be successful in the future of crane operation.
So it's like instead of being afraid of the robots,
Yeah.
you got to learn how to speak their language.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about embracing the future
Yeah.
and realizing that technology can actually make this job even better.
It's like they're becoming the conductors of this like high-tech orchestra, using their skills, but also all this new knowledge,
Sort of.
kind of like in those sci-fi movies
Yeah.
where they're controlling giant robots with their minds. That it's real. And it's happening in factories all over the world.
I love that analogy. It's so true. This field is really changing.
Okay, so RoleCatcher talks about these other related career paths too. Like if crane operation is interesting to you, here's some other things you might want to check out. And one that caught my eye was tower crane operator. We've been talking about production plants, but those giant cranes you see in cities,
Oh, yeah.
those are a whole different thing.
Those are intense. Talk about an office with a view.
Right.
But operating a tower crane, that is not the same as working in a production plant.
What are the biggest differences?
Well, the environment, for one thing. Production plant operators are usually inside, climate controlled and everything. Tower crane operators are out there in the elements. Rain, wind, snow, heat, you name it, they deal with it.
And we're talking some serious heights with those cranes.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds of feet in the air. You got to be okay with that. And sometimes there's not a lot of room to move the crane around.
I bet the actual lifting is different too.
Totally different. In a production plant, it's all about moving materials around. But tower crane operators are lifting those huge construction materials. And they have to be so precise, they're basically building these structures piece by piece.
It's like playing Tetris,
Yeah.
but like with way higher stakes.
Exactly. It takes incredible precision. You have to be aware of everything around you, and you can't freak out when things get intense. One wrong move could be really bad.
So there's some similarities to what we were talking about before, but tower crane operating is its own thing.
It really is.
You need a different skill set,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be okay with a certain level of risk.
For sure.
I also saw that RoleCatcher mentioned mobile crane operator. What's that all about?
So mobile crane operators, they get around.
Literally.
Yeah. They operate cranes that are on trucks or crawlers, which means they can work pretty much anywhere.
So they're not stuck in one place.
Nope. You'll find them on construction sites, industrial areas, even helping out after natural disasters. It's a really diverse job.
Sounds like it. What are some of the challenges of that job?
Well, you got to be adaptable. They work in all kinds of conditions, often on a tight schedule.
And since they're driving between jobs,
Yeah.
I bet they have to know all about transportation regulations and safety protocols.
Oh, absolutely. Not only do they have to operate the crane safely, but they have to make sure that whatever they're carrying is secure and that the whole rig is stable.
Sounds like you need that same commitment to safety that we've been talking about. Plus, a lot of technical knowledge and problem-solving skills.
You got it.
It's got to be tough, but also really rewarding.
Definitely. They play such a crucial role in so many industries, and they get to see the results of their hard work.
So we've talked about 3 different types of crane operation, and it's been so interesting to see how they're all connected.
They're all part of the same world.
But each one needs its own special set of skills.
That's the thing about the skilled trades. It's not one size fits all.
I think people have this idea that skilled trades are less prestigious or like not as intellectually demanding as other jobs.
Right.
But that's just not true.
Not at all. These jobs require intelligence, critical thinking, and technical expertise. Plus, you're actually building something real, something that makes a difference in the world.
Exactly. And with all the technology that's out there now,
Yeah.
these jobs are only going to get more challenging and more important.
The future belongs to those who are ready to learn and adapt.
I love that. So to anyone listening out there, if you've ever been fascinated by those giant cranes, if you like working with your hands and your mind,
Yes.
if you want a job that's tough but also rewarding, crane operation might be for you.
It's a great field to be in. Job security, good pay, and you know you're doing something important.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into the world of production plant crane operators.
I've had a blast.
Me too.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher was an awesome resource.
They really know their stuff.
We learned so much about this career path.
And who knows, maybe one day one of our listeners will be on the show telling us about their experience.
That's a great idea. Okay, that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.